second. Add to studio, add to stream, add to stream. Let me fix one more thing. Boom.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
There we go, baby. Took me a minute to get this thing getting going right.
Yeah, all good, man. It's a pretty cool setup.
Yeah, man. It's good. So
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, are you a devil dog yourself?
Yes, sir.
Well, I am as well.
Semper Fi, brother.
For Fi. What was your MOS?
I was an 0131, so I was in from 95 to 99.
Okay, cool.
And I got out in 99. I ended up going back in 2003. My last 6 months of IRR, I was with 4th LAR down at Camp Williams.
Oh, no way, because that's who I'm with right now.
Really?
I enlisted last fall.
Yeah.
September 11th of last year, and I just got back from all my initial training, and now I couldn't leave O.U.R. because it's too important of a cause, so I just decided to go the reserve route, and that's where I'm at.
You know what's cool? What's really cool about this is Zach is fighting in November, and the guy that he is fighting is with 4th LAR right now. He's with your unit right now. He's an 03. Really, he's an 0311.
That's awesome, man. That's cool stuff.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. So we're live, just so you guys know. We're live. We're getting it cracking. Hello, everybody out there.
Awesome.
So I'm just going to do a quick introduction real quick, and then we'll introduce you, Hayden, and then we'll start firing off the questions.
Roger that.
Now we're rolling. Damage Plan MMA podcast. I am Jason. He is Zach. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Really good. Really good. So we're taking a little detour off the MMA route today, and I think we're hitting something that everybody can relate to, and I think everybody can agree on with all the diversity and everything that's going on in our country right now. This is one thing that's not debatable, and I'm super excited to welcome Mr. Hayden Paul with the Operation Underground Railroad to our podcast today.
Thank you. Excited to be here. It's going to be, hopefully it's not too dark of a subject, and we end happy and enlightened.
I think it'll be good.
That's good, man.
If it does get a little dark, it kind of is what it is, right? Because it's happening and it needs to be addressed, and more people need to know about it and become a little bit more knowledgeable.
For sure. Yeah, you can't shy away from things like human trafficking, especially child sex trafficking, because it's going to happen, and we need, all the sheepdogs out there to go and help take care of these wolves, that are hurting our children. So it takes people to be able to have the courage to look at darkness in order to bring light,
So Hayden, my first question is for those that don't know. I think a lot of people have seen your guys, people wearing your shirts, seen some good branding and some good marketing with your cause that you're associated with. But they might not know exactly the background, where it started, everything like that. If you could give a quick rundown on that.
Yeah, for sure. So Operation Underground Railroad, we've been around for about 7 years now, and it started, sorry, I'm getting a little notification that something's weird with the express. Okay, cool. Sorry. It's being weird. But Operation Underground Railroad started in about 7 years ago, and it was founded in, the faith of our founder, Tim Ballard, who worked for years in the United States government, started in the CIA and then moved to Homeland Security. And he was a part of kind of that first group of people that were working human trafficking cases within Homeland Security. And after working years and years, learning so much about how to combat this problem, Tim Ballard decided to start his own foundation outside of the U.S. government because of, some bureaucratic and jurisdictional limitations. He wasn't able to make the impact that he felt like he could have made. And there's reasons for that. Like, obviously we have to follow, jurisdictional procedure and things of that nature. But, if you know that there's children in a foreign country that are being sold for sex and you're not able to do something because of jurisdiction, like, there has to be, something's got to give, right? And he decided to leave and start a nonprofit organization And our mission is to rescue children from sex trafficking by empowering law enforcement to, run operations, extract the children, and then provide aftercare for them. And so we really are just kind of I would like to say, we're just like a liaison between governments, between law enforcement, to hopefully create some unification in the fight against human trafficking.
That's awesome. I think a lot of people's perception on it too is because they've just seen little snippets, like little videos and whatever. Like in some ways, it almost comes across as a little like
vigilante.
Yeah.
Put on Batman costume.
Which I'm not totally opposed to when it comes to it.
Yeah.
No, it's appealing, but it's not practical.
Yeah, and like you said, working. I think that's very important. You talk about working with governments and giving empowering to people kind of on the feet in different countries to support them in their efforts to clean it up in their countries as well.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, if you think about it, human trafficking, it's a global problem and it requires a global solution. And I mean, when it comes to governments working in tandem, it's a painful process. All you have to do is go to like the DMV and all you and you walk away and you're like, oh man, everything the government does kind of sucks, right? And so we live in the United States where our government works, and I've traveled to a fair amount of countries, works very well. And I'm grateful for the founding principles that our country's founded on. But when it comes to working with multiple international governments and law enforcement agencies, it's very difficult. And so O.U.R. kind of comes in as a great unifier, allowing for collaboration to happen between different organizations and agencies in order to extract and provide aftercare for children.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, so you guys have been, this was started back in 2013, correct?
Yes, 2013.
So how many victims, how many children have been rescued in that time frame, in this 7-year time frame?
Yeah, so as of right now, we have assisted in the rescue of 4,286 survivors.
Wow.
As well as, and this is a number we're also very proud of, is the 2,485 arrests that we've assisted law enforcement in pursuing. And so we've made an impact, but I mean, when you look at the numbers, and I'll share a few numbers because there's probably a few listeners that haven't looked too much into it, but there's an estimated 2 million children that are being sold for sex right now in the world today, right? Here in the United States, it's estimated that 200,000 children are at risk or are being trafficked in the sex industry. So that was a number that was given in 2004 from the Department of Justice. So you can imagine how much it's grown, with the age of the internet since then. So really how big the numbers are, we really don't know. It's estimated that 40 million people worldwide are being trafficked for sex, labor, and organ harvesting. And, that's kind of on the high end, but conservatively, at least 27 million. But millions and millions of people are suffering in the bonds of slavery. And we're so lucky to be living here and to have freedom of movement and freedom of choice.
At what point and how long have you been with O.U.R.?
Yeah, so I've been with O.U.R. for just about 1.5 years now. Started last year in April, and this was a cause I never thought I would be a part of. It wasn't even on my radar, and this isn't a career path that I ever dreamed of having. And if you want, I can share a little bit about how I came to it.
Yes, please. Yes, please do.
Question. And obviously, we don't want to make this about me. This is about O.U.R. and kind of what we're doing. But I heard about this in probably November of 2018. Was the first time I heard about human trafficking, and I couldn't believe it. So I saw an ad on Instagram. I clicked on it, and it just led me down this path until I watched the documentary Operation Toussaint, which is an awesome documentary. It's free on Amazon Prime. Anyone can watch it. And I watched this, and I just couldn't believe that we lived in a world where there was still slavery, and let alone this sort of child sex slavery. Like, I couldn't believe that something like that, and it filled me with anger. And I think you guys can definitely, empathize with this. When you hear something like that, you just want to go like busting down doors and just punching people in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's this that innate feeling that you have to protect children. And so prior to that, I was doing video production, and I was just kind of doing freelance video, and I kept going on. I just started donating to O.U.R every single month, and it got to the point where I couldn't stand by, and so I volunteered at the organization, and I just started volunteering. And as time went on, there was an opportunity to interview for a full-time position, and I took it. And luckily, they saw something in me, and I've been in the fight for the last year and a half full time. So that's kind of my story.
I think that's awesome. So how can people volunteer? How can people that don't know too much about it, but then, where can they give their time and their efforts to helping you guys?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, because a lot of people, they feel, when they hear that child sex trafficking is happening, they're immediately just like, all right, what do I need to do? I'll freaking give up everything. I just want to go, and I want to save these children. And it's a hard thing to do, because, if you don't have a law enforcement background, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be kicking down any doors, making any arrests. And if you don't have, the skills to provide proper care, aftercare to these children, then you're not going to be the one to do that. So what can you do? And really it's telling the story. Now, I mean, you've heard about human trafficking for a while now. And a lot of people do. When I go and speak to people, I ask them, like, raise your hand if you heard about human trafficking before. And everyone raises their hand. But then when you tell them what it truly is, then they can't help but want to get involved. And really what our mission here at Operation Underground Railroad is to, first off, shine a light on human trafficking. And so a lot of times what we ask people to do is to do just that. Share about it on social media. Talk to your families, talk to your friends, share the documentaries that we've put out about our organization and what we do, and just talk about it. Because, when you dive into the history of slavery in early America, you learn that, a lot of people never actually saw slavery for what it was. It's kind of debated. The statistics are debated, but anywhere between 1.5 and 6% of Americans ever owned slaves. So what that meant is that the average American didn't see slavery every single day. And especially if you lived in the North, you knew that it was happening, but it was just kind of out. It was out in your peripherals, right? Now, that's kind of like how it is with most people. They know human trafficking is happening. They know there's such thing as child sex trafficking, but it's in the peripheral. And so what our job is to show people what slavery truly is, and then get them to rise up, get them to talk to their congressmen and other people in power to, to make a fuss, say, we're not okay with this. More needs to be done to rescue our children. So that's really what it is. It's sharing the mess, telling the story.
Go ahead, Jason.
So I was going to ask, so what is the process once you rescue someone, once you rescue a child, what process happens with that child? Because obviously there's probably a lot of things going on, a lot of therapy is probably needed. Talk us through that process. Let us know what that process is once a child is rescued.
Yeah, for sure. So first off, to kind of understand what needs to be done after, you have to understand what led to the trafficking in the first place. So unfortunately, it's not always we rescue a child or a survivor, and then we take them home to their loving family who's just been waiting for them, and they just have a great life to go to. Most of the time, the reason they were in these trafficking situations is because they lacked family completely. They had bad relationship with their family and ran away, or their family was actually part of the problem. And those are the majority of the cases. And so because of that, you have to provide a safe place for these children to live. where they can be loved and they can receive all of the things that, we take for granted, and I don't know what your guys' past family situations are, what they are now, but, I personally can only speak for myself. I've been very blessed to be able to grow up in a 2-parent home where I was taken care of and my parents cared about me and my whereabouts, and they provided me with everything necessary to, grow up and be a productive member of society. So with that kind of as the background, what we have to do is we have to find places for these survivors to go where they can receive all those things. And so we have aftercare partners in every single country and state that we operate in. And right now, as it stands, we're operating in 20. I'm just double checking these stats to make sure I'm saying it right. But we're operating in 26 countries and in 28 states. And so because of that, we have to make sure that whenever there is a rescue, that we have aftercare partners that we can take these children to. And so they provide things like education, vocational training. They provide therapeutic care, healthcare services. There's been times where these children have been so severely abused that, that they've had injuries that required surgery. And so we've provided ways for them to get that surgery. We've flown survivors from their countries here to America, where we've had doctors and surgeons give these surgeries pro bono for free completely. And so we try to provide everything that these children and survivors would need in order to live a productive, happy life. But it's a long process, and it's hard, and it's complicated.
Just curious. So I believe you said you're in 28 states in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't it all of them?
Really, a lot of it is a question of bandwidth. We're trying to raise enough money, create enough connections in order to be able to support. We do want to be in all 50 states.
I'm sure you guys do, but yeah.
And actually, there's a lot of states that want us to be in them, but we just lack the bandwidth. We're trying to set ourselves up as an organization where we can have longevity, where we're set up. So that way we don't take on too much and then completely crumble, right? And so there's a strategic way that we're continuing to make our impact in the country as well as in the world. So yeah, we're making our way to that full 50 states, but it'll take a little bit of time.
What is the relationship like with local and national government leaders? I mean, I'm pretty sure that I saw that Tim Ballard met with President Trump not too long ago, right? So what are those conversations like? What's being pushed from a legislative standpoint and and local? Like, do you guys ever get any pushback on anything, or what's that like?
Yeah, no, it's a very complicated issue. Not necessarily working with the United States government. We've received nothing but great support from our law enforcement partners here, as well as Tim is working with the White House to do as much as possible, and we are grateful for any support that we get from any government entity, right? But when you're getting kind of into other countries, it can get complicated because there's a lot of cultural differences. There's a lot of different ways that the governments are run and that the law enforcement system is ran in those countries. And so it requires a lot of tact and a lot of patience. And so we work really hard in order to foster the sort of relationships that are built on trust. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes we'll go into a country and we'll ask, a lot of times we'll work with, U.S. embassies, and we'll be like, who have you guys worked with that you can trust from a law enforcement perspective, Because when you move into some countries, like Mexico or Colombia, and you have to deal with some corrupt police and things of that nature, which there's a lot of incredible police, and the ones that we work with are awesome, top-notch guys. And I mean, we trust our life with them, literally, and But it is a process in order to find, who are those champions, who are the people that we can trust. Now, when it comes to in the United States, our relationships are awesome. We act as a support to law enforcement. So what we'll do is we'll provide resources. One of the really cool resources that I'll share with you guys is we provide these sniffing dogs that will sniff out memory cards and USB drives and hard drives. And it's incredible.
Wow.
And these are so important because when you go and you do, a raid of a house or something like that, or you're going and investigating a potential, trafficker or pedophile, you have to gather as much evidence as you can in order to make it stick, right? And so you go into their house and they can get very, very creative on where they hide their child pornography and these child abuse and then all this child abuse material. And so these dogs will go in there and they can sniff out like little tiny USB drives stuck on baseboards or underneath couches or wherever, right? And so that's one of the resources that we'll provide law enforcement with is these dogs, because it's expensive. It costs about $15,000 to train one of these dogs.
Wow.
And so that's just one of them. And then, sometimes, we'll fund complete operations. One of our most successful operations is Operation Net Nanny. It's in Washington State, where they're doing preemptive arrests in the sense of they create profiles posing as children, right? And they just kind of wait for someone to reach out to them, and if it gets to the point where the person comes and they want to have sex with the child, the alleged child, then they'll arrest them. And so it's kind of like preemptively rescuing and preventing the abuse of children. So that's kind of the ways that we work with law enforcement, and that's how the relationships work.
That's awesome.
That is very awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get, I don't know, maybe this might head down a little bit darker path, but
That's all right.
How do you identify targets?
Mm-hmm. In terms of where
you're going to potential traffickers?
Yeah. Do you get tips, or is there, something online that they're trigger points? Yeah. I mean, we could go down a huge rabbit hole, but
for sure. I mean, so the human trafficking is such a complicated issue, and it's because there's so many different forms, right? Now, it's not always, and like how I talked about, there's different backgrounds that survivors and victims will come from. There's also different ways that they're going to get roped into this, right? So, a lot of child exploitation happens over the internet. A lot of children will play games, right? And the parents don't understand what the nature of these games are. They think that the child's just playing a game against a computer, right? Like it's like Atari or something like that,
Yes.
But really what they're doing is they're playing with an adult man, and this adult man's chatting with them. And it can get to the point where this guy can convince, a 7-year-old girl to get naked, and he'll take pictures of them or video or screen record. And then that is up on the internet and being shared in his network of pedophiles, right? And so that's one way. And so you have to, for that to investigate those types of things, you have to use, very complicated digital forensic equipment and strategies in order to, track IP addresses and to monitor. Because, one thing that we really value in this country, which I think is amazing, is privacy, the privacy of the individual. And what that does, though, is it creates a big barrier when it comes to investigating. So you have to be really, really smart when it comes to it. And, but, there's other ways that it happens, including, a guy, here's just a scenario that is far too common, where like a 14-year-old girl is at a mall and she meets an older guy, he's like 19, 20 or whatever. And he starts talking to her and makes her feel special, buys her a bunch of, clothing, takes her out. And, for weeks at a time, she's going out and her parents are thinking she's just going to hang out with her friends, but she's hanging out with this older guy. And then what will happen is after, they fall in love, she will be asked by him if she can do him a favor because he's in a financial bind. And she'll be like, of course, I love you. I'll do anything. I need you to perform such and such sex act on this guy. Then, they'll film it, take pictures, and then he'll turn on her and say, if you tell anyone about this, I'm going to send these videos to your family. And during this whole time, he's gathering reconnaissance, right? He's figuring out about her life, who her family is, who her friends are.
Yeah.
And so he can use that as leverage. And then, on the weekend, she'll go to school, she'll go to church, she'll live a normal life, but on the weekend, she's being sold for sex. And so, that's a scenario. And so, like you can see, that's a completely different scenario from that first one on the internet, where that child's being exploited through the internet. And because of this, it requires a lot of tact in order to fight this problem. And so, I don't have an easy answer for you that wouldn't take a long time to go into, but law enforcement has put a lot of time and energy into developing ways in order to combat this.
I think it obviously has to start at home with the parents. And I know I have a 10-year-old daughter, and that's one of my biggest fears is, picking up her phone, and which her mother is very adamant about. She monitors everything on her phone. In fact, we kind of had a little scenario a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. And luckily her mother caught it, and it was snipped right at the bud. But yeah, it's scary, man. So the parents out there, with the way social media is, don't let these kids get on these TikToks and Facebooks.
Yeah.
They can wait.
I know the way I kind of look at it is this is, if you give a child, especially, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old child, a phone, that is like it's one of the most powerful tools in the world. You can access so many things through that. And like, let's take another powerful tool that's very effective, another powerful tool, and that's a chainsaw. Like, chainsaws are really effective at cutting down trees, but you would never just give a chainsaw to a child, right? That's because they haven't learned basic safety that would have to be understood preemptive to using a chainsaw, right? And so that's kind of a funny example, but what you have to do is you have to slowly teach your children how to safely use these tools that are given to us, that are amazing, but you would never just give your child it's my personal opinion that you should never just give a child such a powerful tool without first, teaching them the proper way of using it.
Yeah, they've come a long way now with the way that parents can monitor that. Because I actually was surprised that her mom could literally turn off a certain app or not let her download certain things. And I think we've come a long way when it comes to that.
Smart. Yeah, you got to use that stuff.
Are there do you guys have tips, like a rundown of, things that parents should be looking for?
Sorry, you cut out there. I didn't hear that last bit.
Sorry. Do you guys have tips that sorry, I'm trying not to use the word as much. Do you guys have tips that parents should be looking for?
So we have on our website, we have a training that kind of just gives a broad training for anyone who wants to know how to, recognize the signs of human trafficking. But also by knowing how to recognize the signs of human trafficking, you're able to kind of apply that to your own life and know how to recognize, any of those warning signs when it comes to your own children. But there's a lot of awesome, information out there on how to protect your children. And there's a lot of, one of the great ways as well is to protect your children from pornography and those types of things, because pornography, human trafficking are so closely linked. And, through those channels, a lot of bad things can happen,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
take that training. If you go to OURrescue.org,
thank you.
You can just go up to get trained, just click on it. It's up at the top bar. You can get trained, and you get a little certificate at the end that says that you're trained in and recognizing the signs of trafficking.
Oh,
Really
nice.
cool stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I put that link in the YouTube comments, by the way, so everybody that's listening, you can click on the website on there.
Awesome.
I was gonna touch on. I was looking at the website, Hayden, and with all of the obviously COVID-19 stuff that's going on right now, I noticed you guys do a lot of events. Looks like they're doing a lot of virtual events. Can you talk a little bit about some of these, like the Trek for Trafficking? I'm seeing DFW virtual 5K walk. Can you touch on those things a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So we have an incredible base of volunteers. I think I don't know what the number is now, but I think we're over 20,000 volunteers. And what these are people who have, signed up and are actively trying to find ways to raise money and awareness for O.U.R. And so if you want to know about these events that are happening in your area, the best way to do it is to, sign up as a volunteer, and you'll get emails about events happening in your communities and what you can support. But yeah, it's been an interesting year for everyone, right?
Very.
And luckily we've been able to adapt, and a lot of our volunteers have been able to continually raise money and awareness through virtual ways to, help further the cause. I mean, we're actually going that route when it comes to our yearly gala, our annual gala. We're going completely virtual. It's going to be free. Anyone can view that. We have a landing page, and that's a really cool way to kind of see what we're actually doing. Tim Ballard, the founder, is going to be hosting that gala. But yeah, there's always events going on, and it's incredible to see. And as a donor relations manager, it's kind of my job to work with these people who are raising money and doing it on their own volition. No one's making them do it. They just feel passionate about the cause, and they're doing something to further it. And it's really cool.
I noticed that.
Anybody with kids should feel pretty passionate about this cause.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say that gala that you're talking about, is that the November 7th?
November 7th. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. And that's all going to be virtual live stream event. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's going to be really cool. We're excited. It'll be completely different, obviously, from what we've done before, but we're excited. But I mean, there's so much good that happens. Like, for example, even me being on this podcast, that comes from a guy, Carson Hardman.
Shout out Carson.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Shout out to Carson. But it's just people who they feel passionate about the cause, and then they think of, okay, what are my connections? What is my network? What resources do I have? And how can I put them towards this cause? I'll share a story right now. I was just talking about it with our team before, but we had a lady who she had been abused earlier in her life by her father and her brother. And she decided that she wanted to, find a way to support Operation Underground Railroad. So she had a business, and to protect her identity, obviously, I don't want to be sharing too much. She had a business that created a certain product, and she decided, you know what, I'm going to source 100 of this product, and I'm going to pay for it with my own money. I'm going to sell them for $100, and I'm going to raise $10,000. And so she did that all on her own and donated $10,000 to Operation Underground Railroad. Wow. And it's like, a lot of people are like, I don't have $10,000 that I can put toward the cause. I'm not rich, but it's like, you have resources, you have a network, figure out a way, and people are doing it every single day. And it's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, unless you have anything else to share, I think we kind of covered the spectrum, but get out and share the website, share the message, share, volunteer, look for opportunities to use your network to get involved.
Yeah, of course. You guys are a perfect example. And I'll end with this, just a last little thought. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of William Wilberforce, but he was kind of one of the original abolitionists in Great Britain in the 19th century. And he was a guy, he had a lot of prominence, he had a lot of wealth, and he felt especially compelled to fight against slavery and see the abolition of slavery. So what happened was he would use his network and his influence, and he would take, wealthy people on his yacht, which a yacht back then was like a big wooden ship with sails, and they're going down the river, and they would go down, and he would stop during their lunch and during their, nice little time together in front of a slave ship, and the stench would fill their nostrils, the smell of death and of slavery. And he would tell them, this is a slave ship. This is what slavery looks like. And then he would bring, colleagues of his, friends of his who were formerly enslaved Africans. And he would show them the scars on their back and tell them the stories of slavery. And then William Wilberforce, with a lot of passion, would look into the eyes of these people, and he would say, you may turn your back and walk away, but you may never again say that you did not know. And that applies to us as well. We know that this terrible thing is going on, and we can turn our backs, we can walk away, we can pretend that it's not happening. But, I'm a religious man, and I never want to stand before my maker. And I'm not going to be able to be like, oh, I didn't know that was happening, And so what is the responsibility we have? It is to do whatever it is that we can do for the cause. You guys are a perfect example. You're using your podcast as a way to share the message. And all I ask for anyone listening is to go to OURrescue.org, learn more about human trafficking, what we're doing to stop it, and figure out a way to get involved.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you, Hayden.
It's been great, Hayden, man. We greatly appreciate you coming on and sharing this information, and we will just keep plugging it and keep getting the information out there. So
likewise. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool.
So to switch it up a little bit for real quick.
Yeah.
You're an MMA fan, I'm assuming?
Dude, I'm starting to. Well, I'm a big Jocko fan, right?
Like, oh yeah, you gotta.
How could you be in the military and not listen to
You
Jocko,
got it, yeah.
right? So he's one of the big reasons why I enlisted, and I've been thinking. You go through like McMap or whatever, but it's it's like eye gouge. You learn, just really dumb things. But I've been thinking about like maybe starting to roll. Like maybe finding. I don't know. Maybe I need to talk to you guys.
Do
later.
it.
Some good jujitsu gyms in the area because I just keep hearing from people like it's awesome.
It's the best.
What part of the valley are you in?
I live up in Sandy.
Oh yeah, so there's plenty of places. You should come. You should just come with me next time I go up to Layton.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, man.
Yeah,
come roll with us.
Not this Saturday, but probably next Saturday.
That'd be awesome.
Do it, dude.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Hey, well, you got my contact, man. I'd love to.
Heck yeah,
I'd love to do that. That'd be awesome.
Well, I thought maybe some people would shoot over some questions, but it didn't look like we got any questions. But that's all right.
Good. Don't worry.
They can get on the website and check out all the information. So
for sure.
Cool. Right on. Well, we'll get this all wrapped up. Hayden, thanks again, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course.
This is awesome.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.